The family name is Gudarzi. I mean, it's just like living exile. That's why I'm mentioning it, because it's changed my life. Kind of being exiled. Happy still to be able to write for theater. And yeah, I mean, so how I became theater, I was like kind of 13, I think. Um, I I had this pleasure to decide. I mean, if I want to change the school and have another school subject or not, and then always as it was like so 10, 12, we were like going to my grandparents in the north of Tehran, and I've seen this theater school, the only one, so back in this time. And I wanted to be actor, yeah, like it was like so like everybody. And then um, I passed the exam luckily, and I came into the school. And after like kind of 1 year, as I started to read plays and so books at all, because it was like not common in my family. It was no book, but in our family or in house. And I realized, okay, theater is kind of interesting word, and then it was not interested anymore to become a actor, and I wanted to become actually a playwright. And then so I realized by time that, because I was like so growing up in Iran. Iran is like a dictatorship, Islamic dictatorship. Even theater is not allowed. So in Islam, I'm still happy that we had these kind of cultural events in Iran. And then I realized, okay, theater is very political, and because it is live, it's difficult also to censor it. The censorship is very important for the dictatorships, actually also for kind of Iranian regime, so Islamic dictatorship. And I realized, in a live on a stage, it's a bit more difficult to censor actually the input, and you are just like very close to the audience. And that's why I wanted to work as a playwright, to start a discourse actually, and then to put this political input into the play, and have this discourse and conversation actually with the audience. It was very exciting. I mean, there is a tradition of kind of folklore theater in Iran as well, kind of similar to Commedia dell'arte, and it's also very political because it's live. The things you are saying, nobody can control, and you can just like put it in a funny way, and to say like to criticize the situation and be political. That was like, I think, so the important part for me, to find a way, like even in a small way or narrow way, to be political, to have this discourse and have another narration, kind of, so the anti-narration of the narration of the government or kind of Iranian regime. First of all, I was like, so living in kind of dictatorship like Iran. It was very difficult because we were like very cut up, kind of being in kind of island, and we had no interaction with the whole world. And it was like also 12, 13 years ago was difficult with the internet. I wasn't even able to watch like movies, because the internet was very slow down. Um, for sure, I have through like German and English, can reach the international discourse, and it's very important at one point. And the other point, that's the language I'm writing in it. I'm writing in German now, and that's a new word. So because the languages are always try to hide something specifically belonging to the history of this language, of this country. And if you think into language, you can bring these both languages to speak. At one point, like my mother tongue want to be silenced and try to hide the truths behind, so for thousands of years. And at some point, the German try to hide, I mean, the whole story of Second World War, and so the things all happen. And to be able to think in two languages and write in one language, it's a great possibility actually to create kind of new language, or know that how the languages try to hide things and try to escape. Some languages are very open to talk about different things. That the combination of both is very important, and also the view of life. So just like sitting somewhere and I'm able to observe everything. That's like a very important example. When you are living in a seaside, you don't hear the sea anymore. But when you are a person coming to the seaside for a short period of time, you always hear the sea. And that's what's happened to me, after I moved to Austria. And now I can also look back to Iran also with a different view, kind of culture, language. There is a fluidity actually. You can have both. That's like kind of bullshit to believe that a culture, you belong to a culture, to a language, to a country, to a history. You can actually change and go through all these kind of ideas that claim to be the only truth, but that's not true actually. I mean, I feel myself now more Austrian in a way than I have been Iranian, and that's also all a kind of creation that we have in our mind. You can go through all languages, so or all ideas, nationalities, whatever you think. It's like a creation. I mean, for me, the very important part of my work is to be to to be critical and political at one point. That's like my understanding of theater. Uh, for me, theater is not only for entertaining here. Theater is supposed to be political, and that's also for me very important. That's part of my work or my writing. In a way, I'm just like not thinking a lot about future and about tomorrow. I'm mostly actually thinking about today, and on behalf of yesterday. I mean, at the past time. So most of my plays are um, showing actually how the past time changing our life, and the whole connection of the past with today and also tomorrow. So that's why I just like put a panorama there, and that's also even a panorama of time actually, and the connections of the time, how the time and this connection can change our life. I mostly write about kind of not very far future. So on behalf of yesterday.